Good evening and welcome to the segment we call the Lifebuoy right here on Chlorine Callaloo. Thank you for joining us this evening. And this evening, have two co-hosts here. I have two co-hosts here with me this evening. I have Chantal Ross-Thomas and Deronn Samlalsingh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Evening, everyone.
Evening, everyone.
Chantal, your internet working?
For the most part, yes. We'll see.
For those who now tuning in, we don't have an internet sponsor, so you could try to hook us all up. So good evening and welcome to the Lifebuoy, Saving Aquatics, one guest at a time. And this evening we're having a bit of a open forum. I know we have been talking a lot about Olympics. A lot of us have had a lot to say over the past few days, few weeks. And we want to personalize it to our industry, our sport, and we're talking aquatics. And we just want to find out, what people actually want from aquatics in Trinidad and Tobago. We probably have our own opinions, but we really want to find out from the public what they think is the best part for aquatics going forward. I just sent a link in the chat, both the Trinidad Freestyle's Facebook and the YouTube. So if persons may want to join our open forum, there's a link there which you can join live. So you can check out that link. So let's start. I've seen Rocky smiling. So let me start with Rocky then, since he's smiling so much. First of all, Rocky, last week Asia forgot to wish you happy birthday live. So I want to wish you happy birthday live. Your birthday was last week Tuesday and she forgot.
There's no problem, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Rocky, do you know what you want for aquatics in Trinidad and Tobago?
I want us to stop selling ourselves short. I think it starts with we have a lack of belief in our system. I mean, it stems from athletes to parents to coaches, right? So I want it to be a career and not a hustle. I mean, I'm involved in Learn to Swim as my full-time career, so to speak. I coach, and it boils down to this, I coach after hours or part-time, if you want to call it that, right? And I want it to become more of a career for persons, because when I look at the pool for me to get Learn to Swim or instructors from, it's very slim, right? So I want us to get a system in place, because I believe that is the only way we could plateau and really build belief in aquatics and ourselves.
Chantal?
I agree with Rocky. I really want to hear from, administration in terms of what is the vision, what is the way forward, the policies that they're putting in place. I really want to hear from the technical side of it, because it's really about the athletes, the talent, and the coaches that are grooming them. So I think today is a very important conversation to have. I also share the same vision as, Rocky, with regards to seeing the growth of the sport and, hoping that swimming can one day be a template for other sports, in terms of growth, development, success.
And we can't just forget talk about swimming alone. Of course,
right, water polo as well. Yeah, because it's aquatics.
Yeah, we forget to say aquatics, and remember that we are in charge. Well, the Swimming Association is in charge of all aquatic sports.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, as we have you here, what about you?
Hello. I tell you, this was a discussion, so you're trying to put me on the spot.
Well, right. So yeah, you're getting the opinions of the other two also.
Yeah, I have a list. I have a list, and well, let somebody here kind of help us out. We can start the ball rolling, and we can start. I've seen a Henley calendar, I believe, from water polo. Right, first, as that has to be a professional and strategic organization, and I think we need to have, a system of governance in place that could encourage at whatever decisions we make. We have to encourage athletic excellence. At the end of the day, I think we need a athlete-centered approach to how we're doing business, right? We have to think how best we could do for our athletes and put in structures to assist that. He said, firstly, ASAP needs to be a professional strategic organization. I mean, I think we have to, if we know that we want to, for example, the Olympics, right? And that is one of the dreams that we have to go to the Olympics. We at least have to put a plan to get there. We can't just expect athletes to, just opt one day and say, hey, I'm going to the Olympics. It needs to have a structure. It needs to be a defined pathway from learn to swim straight up to elite athlete. And in that process, helping the coaches, the technical person supposed to assist with talent identification, etc., so that we could try to seek out the best athletes.
But who do we hold accountable for these things taking place? I mean, it's nice to have this forum where we talk, but there has to come a point where implementation takes place, right? And I know we always put a lot of blame, if for want of a better word, on the the president or the executive, etc. But there's a membership, right? And there's a council as well that holds the executive, accountable. So what is the role of these people in terms of making sure that these things happen and we have that professional organization that, that person just spoke about? What is the plan with that? It's not just the president alone, it's the membership. How do we move forward?
Well, I mean, I believe, in the swimming association, amateur swimming association, for example, I mean, we have to start holding persons accountable. I always say that we set standards for athletes. We have some sort of standards for coaches and administrators. The standards aren't there, and we need to hold ourselves accountable as well for those who have been members of council, because we need to be, every member of council, as far as I'm concerned, need to be apologizing to athletes every single day for failing them at the level of council, because the kind of discussions we have there are very team-centric, very reactive. As when I talk about team, is when a team comes up, that's when you have a discussion how to select the team. But there isn't really a discussion, as far as I'm concerned, how do we get the best team, or how do we get persons to be on the team, right? Anybody else could chime in?
Yeah, I just think, I mean, and I have sat so much so I told myself, hey, you know what, I don't want to go on any other team, right, or put up my name, because I find, you know what, we speak about wanting change, and it's a common issue where we speak about persons want change, but give them the opportunity to implement and bring about change, and they sit back, right? And I remember when I went up my first Goodwill, persons were talking about he too young and inexperienced, and I was like, for Goodwill, right? So it's like Goodwill is, I mean, for persons watching who may not know what Goodwill is a developmental meet, right? For persons who now most personalize their first national team where they now getting their feet wet, right? So, I mean, administratively, yes, there's one thing, Justin just mentioned, standards for coaches. What is the standard for coaching in swimming, right? I have never, I mean, even when I started coaching, it was me, I started, I mean, with the club I was with, right? I would talk to the head coach a bit, but it was just like, you know what, on the job training now, right? There's no kind of grooming, so to speak.
I don't know. I'm hearing you.
I'm tired of hearing Rocky talk.
Okay. Yeah, we're hearing you, but we're not seeing you.
But I'm seeing the comments in the chat, and this one is from.
Before you go forward, Chantal, Rocky, just log out and log in and see what happens. Yeah. I seen him pop up. There he is. So as we say, we're appealing for that internet sponsor, that internet provider.
At least it's not me this time.
Yeah. Look, you probably spread it to Rocky.
You see, I was good though.
Why you playing the fool?
I was trying to get his sponsorship.
Yes, Chantal, you were saying something about the comment.
No, well, Rocky came back on, so I don't know if he wants to finish his statement before.
It just shows that, you know what, we want change, but I think when voting comes around, we're going to see the same people voted for So we think that we want change. We think so. I really want to hear what the public or parents, persons, membership has to say. I mean, I think that's what it's about, because clearly what we think and what we want, we are not the masters now. So when that time comes up, right, we as the coaches or well-wishers, it's the clubs that vote, and many persons seem to have different opinions. Yeah, so.
Yeah. I think the club, the membership, the general membership, not just the ones that vote, they too have a role. You can hold your executives accountable because they are executives from every club. So you may not necessarily be able to, advocate and talk to another member from another club, but you can speak to your representatives and you can, protest in your own way, nice silent protest, no violence. If you are not seeing the changes that you want to see, but we can't just sit down and say, well, it's council or it's the president or it's XYZ. If you want to change, then, you have to put some kind of effort behind it to get that change. I was looking at the comments and I'm seeing Mr. Morrison talking about, Canada has a developmental pathway, etc. From what I know, having worked at the ministry, is that every NGB is supposed to submit a pathway. Basically, this is part of the requirements in order to get subvention. So if ASAT has been receiving subvention, it means that something was put forth. Was it shown to everyone? I do not know, but something would have had to be put forth in order for you all to get funding. So there is a pathway somewhere.
A mystery path.
You sure it's not just with dangly carrot? Because it seems that we like to jump on the wagon after. So we might get one or two persons outside the time and say, hey, look, we have something. But what was the framework? I mean, it's about being able to replicate, right? Having a system that we could have repeated, because Sherelle shouldn't be, because Sherelle was, she has superb talent, she has the build, those things. It's supposed to have a system where we could find an next Sherelle, and it's not just because Sherelle had superior mind or this, that, or the other. We're supposed to find a way that we can make an next Sherelle, right? We're supposed to be able to make an next George, right? Granted, I'm not taking away from these persons that they were talented, their genetics were different. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that I think that, you know what, we need to have some kind of system that is not a flash in the pan, right? Where does the next Olympian lie, right? Yes, we could all advocate for it, But
this can happen in two ways. Yes, you can have it from the ASAT technical committee actually putting a structure in place and looking for that next Sherelle or George, etc. But also at the club level, what are the coaches themselves looking for? When you go to each club, like the way I would choose a swimming club would be based on, the coach and the results that that coach has been getting, etc. So now when you look at clubs, clubs marketing themselves that way to say, I'm the best, best club in town, or I'm the best open water swimming club, the best whatever, how are clubs marketing themselves and going about, finding talent and then nurturing that talent and creating those Sherelles and George. That isn't just the responsibility of a technical committee. That is something that you could do on your own, at your own club level.
Yeah, it's something you could do at your own club level, but it would help to have a national vision.
Yes, it would.
That we all working towards, and I mean that will help the situation. And I want to say something as well. I mean, we asked, how come things don't happen, or why aren't we holding the council members accountable and things like that. Well, I want to say something. I think council, let's be real, we have to stop trying to find a way to squeeze in on a national team and a cricketer team and a CCCAN team and to get a trip and to make a deal and not focus on meritocracy and not focus on, getting the best for the athletes. Too often, our own personal interest supersedes everything. And I have seen people who dislike each other make strange alliances, not for the benefit of swimming, but for their personal benefit. And until we could, until we could reduce the amount of, I might get licks for this, until we could reduce the amount of imposters in the sport that walking around with their heads up high, and Trinidad and Tobago can't win a Curvita since 2010, and Trinidad and Tobago hasn't done so many things, and we have left our athletes to crawl out like a snake and hopefully reach to the Olympics. Until we stop that, we're going to end up in the same thing. So I would like each and every person who has a position of influence to put their foot down if they really care about the athletes. Don't come here complaining about the athletes not doing this and that, and when you sit down in meetings for months doing nothing.
I think a criteria would have to be set in order, to achieve some level of fairness, because in reality, there will always be people like that. Mm-hmm. There will always be those. But if you have some kind of criteria in place, you can kind of minimize the number of people that will be, utilizing the loophole, etc. Yeah, but I don't think it can be completely eradicated because of human nature.
Yeah, we could put in a criteria too, but I think coaches, even as an association, we need to empower our coaches, as in train our coaches, make them feel that, hey, I don't have to rely to be on friends with somebody to get on a team, right? I mean, that's what I think empowering coaches is a big part of it, and coaches too, if you're taking this as a profession, you have to do your part to educate yourself and improve yourself as well. I mean, despite the association, you see it, you could turn on the TV and realize that we are not where we're supposed to be in swimming.
But Jason, why am I empowering myself? Because even Jason,
if you love yourself.
Agreed. I know. I am just saying, for somebody, I'm speaking not on my behalf. I know where I stand. I know what I want to achieve. Yeah, but for somebody coming into the sport, and I know, what? Even though I become the pinnacle of coaching, right, and I equip myself with everything, right, people are still not going to be given the opportunity to showcase what I bring to the table, right? People are going to slander my name, and that is the kind of dog-eat-dog mentality we have. It's crabs in a barrel, right? So we don't often get out there and say, what? People don't say, I like this young man's passion. I see things in him, let me push him. No, it's the next way around. Who you feel he is? He's trying to take up. And that is the mentality of the people, Jason.
Our people.
Our people, yeah?
But I think you have to do what you have to do for you and brand yourself a particular way that there just comes a point where they can't refuse you any longer.
I agree.
Like if you are consistently producing, class act athletes that are, Olympic bound, at some point, somebody is going to recognize that. But if you just in the same boat as everybody else, then yeah, you're going to be overlooked.
I honestly feel that, I mean, Chantal, that honestly sounds great on paper, right?
I mean, you have to try. You have to build your brand.
And I think we have to make certain alliances between persons in the community that are serious about development, that are serious about the development of the sport. We know there are good people in the community, and I will even say there's some very good coaches as well that can produce Olympic talent, but it's for us to really put down. I mean, Cheryl was a perfect example, right? But it's for us to put together a system in place, as we alluded to, that can get Cheryl's and better, and a lot more of them.
What have you learned from Cheryl's journey? I just say, as a coaching body, from Cheryl, what have you learned? Yes, her coach would have learned something.
Tune into Chlorine Champions coming up next. We have Cheryl Thompson. But we have learned. I mean, when we interviewed her mom a few weeks ago, I mean, we spoke about the fact that we had 4 coaches that got together and worked together to achieve a goal. I mean, I will say it's the first time I felt like in Trinidad and Tobago in a long while that we had coaches come together for a national good, a true, genuine national good. It's the first time, and I commend the coaches for making that step. And I implore them to keep working together. and implore them to bring in other like-minded coaches to get a vision across, because at the rate we're going, I mean, we will be complaining 2021, 22, 23 straight throughout.
I think I wanna answer Rocky's question in terms of what did we learn. I mean, there are certain things that I personally learned. I don't know if it will help anybody else, but I realized that we don't have a vision for asset, and that's why you may feel like there are good people within the system, but they're not motivated because they don't know exactly what they're working towards and what is the benefit, etc. So having a vision is something that needs to be put in place. There are policies that need to be put in place to govern, certain things like Jason was talking about coach selection for national duty, etc. Things like that. Tools, what tools do the coaches currently need to make them better? We need to ask that question. You need to give support and not just knock them. If things aren't going their way, how can we support and make you better? And make them feel really included and heard, etc. I think there need to be standards for the athletes themselves in terms of what is TNT standard of excellence. I mean, yes, we could go by FINA's times, etc. for certain meets, but we ourselves need to have standards for athletes as they start moving, into 11 to 12, 13 to 14, going up. It becomes a little bit more serious there. For me, we also, we need to do those things because we need to build capacity within our athletes so that when we host events down here, there's really good competition to race against, because COVID would have taught us that in a lockdown, the NCAA circuit or any other tournament outside may not necessarily be available to us. And so we have to use what we have here. So those things become important.
Yeah. I mean, we use things we have here too. And I would like us to, I will switch nationally a little bit, because we need that the facilities that we have available to us for elite athletes are, we have proper access to them. We maximize the use of them and maximize all opportunities that we can get from the facilities, including bringing elite competition here on a more regular basis or a more planned basis, and getting the best of our best to train together as well.
Systems. I think it boils down to that, right?
Somebody else just put if there's a systematic approach, those things won't be an issue. Tony, if you all know Anthony Morrison, he's really Tony Morrison. This is his alias is Anthony, right? He's from Jamaica. He said, "Get swimming success written into the national sports policy." Chantal is sighing.
Mom on that.
Was that
I'll be mom on that. To me, the more we try to intertwine sport with politics, the worse it will become.
Yeah.
There are a lot of organizations that you see being successful. Yes, they are government funded, but the actual work that is being done is not politically aligned. And those are the organizations that are moving forward. If we tie ourselves to a political system, then the vision will have to change every 5 years. And where will we go with that?
And before I forget, and because Randy Joseph actually put a very good comment
on that.
Yeah, a comment on this, because one of the things we don't do in the association is that really talent identification and start building from the ground up, from the learn to swim level. How do we teach people to swim in Trinidad and Tobago? Is there a standard for same? So,
and that's where I started off, right? Because I would see it regularly that persons come out of learn to swim needing to learn to swim, right? And I mean, it's a sad reality, but Chantal, I mean, you would know from your swimming career, I'm sure there are technical flaws you would have had that because it was so ingrained in you, you couldn't break it, right? And we need to, as I said earlier, we need to get competent learn to swim coaches who, it's not about kicking out your legs and making big circles with your arms. It's about understanding, where do I want to go? all right, we take pride in swimming. So whatever I teach you is towards a competitive edge. And they said here, you have 199 children who could swim. Whether they choose to pick up swimming or not, I always say, you don't have to pick up swimming, but learn to swim, right? And our standard of learn to swim should be one where you could kind of rebound from there and say, hey, you know what? I learned the appropriate skills. I can now carry my swimming to a career in swimming, right? And we lack that miserably in this country. I mean, I look at the numbers for like school swim meets or pre-competitive swim meets, right? If you look at the frameworks around the world, their early stages are built on fundamentals. And in fundamentals, they say fun. The captures on fun. What fun do we have in any clubs? I mean, those are the relays, showing other relays. And as a coach, as parents too, we need to sit back. Because I can tell you personally, I go down to have a fun session with my children, I will hear some parents complain, right? But we have to learn. That's where it learns that a system of fun is in place. So there could be fun, and fun is not throwing around noodles and having them go and swim fit. It's a structured fun. And as the person said, a systematic approach where we know, hey, you know what? This fun is geared to teaching them how to scull, teaching them how to long capacity, how to breathe out, just how to be in the water now.
So therefore, that lends to some, I mean, education, parents' education, etc. So
investment
should be a focus of the association as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, parent frameworks is a big thing. We are not adopting the children who come to swim, you know, they have their parents still. So it's a partnership. We need to find ways. No, and I'm being real, because I mean, I always tell people, especially as my summer starts to develop, I want to be good with the parents, right? Not because I'm trying to make friends, but because this is a partnership. There's a lifelong journey we're taking until your child goes off to college or goes off to, hey, swim and whatever. We are together on this. I can't make decisions without you. And swimming decisions, I hope you'd include me in it as well.
I think you made a good point, Rocky, and it's something that I've always advocated for at the younger levels. There has to be a transition from physical education. We really don't take physical education seriously. There has to be a transition from physical education into the various sports. So the child actually develops the right skills before they even get into the movement of swimming, etc., that kind of thing. That I feel like ASAT or clubs could take it upon themselves and form alliances. And I know they do, some clubs do this, form alliances with certain kindergartens, certain schools, etc., and, you know, train those children. I know we lack what it is, human resource, in terms of really being able to make it like a nationwide something, because swimming, everybody should learn to swim. I feel, you know, just having basic water safety is important. It's very important, as you said, the teachers at that level need to really be skilled. A lot of times we take for granted that, you know, I do a level 1 certification course, I could go and teach learn to swim or something. But I feel that at that level, because it is really the developmental stage, that person needs to be highly skilled, you know, to undertake that type of training with those children. So that's an important piece.
As you said, that they are throw out a business idea for clubs. Why not partner with a learn to swim organization that you could scout, right? I don't know how many clubs do it. But for example, by us, we have our learn to swim program, and the competitive program is running simultaneously, more or less, right? So I could see what persons or prospects, hey, you know, and I could go and directly talk to the parents. Many learn to swim programs are run out of private pools. Clubs don't run there. So these clubs never see what is being harvested in the learn to swim program. So then these people learn to swim. The parent was never told, you know, your child has a good feel for the water. They understand the physics of swimming. And so you'd see how natural some of them are. Wouldn't this, I mean, just throwing ideas out there, but.
So I want to stop us a little while. I have someone waiting here.
Yeah, it's an open forum. Let's take the comment.
There's a overseas local. This is BJ Donahue. Good evening, Mr. Donahue.
Jason, I'd never seen you without a bull head.
Serious? Well, talk to the government of Trinidad and Tobago. But next week the barber's opening in Trinidad and Tobago, so hopefully I can get a little something.
It's not hard to cut your own hair if you go.
No, not me. If you see me cut my hair, you win.
You're looking good. Seriously, you look gray is really becoming.
This is not. This is not gray. This is just highlighted black.
Have you seen Brian's gray hair?
Since he was in Trinidad last, but Brian, I sure you come here for a purpose. What instead of harassing me, what you want to tell us here this evening?
No. I was getting on the Facebook and look, I've been involved in swimming in every level from young child to being a coach to I've been on the water polo side. I've had to deal with parents. And all you're saying is true, but what you're experiencing is different because of how small Trinidad is and all the different power brokers there. And I want to encourage you. I hate to even say this, but you got to speak the truth. The people down there have got to be transparent. That's the biggest problem I see down there is transparency. The cool thing about swimming is times transcend everything. Data wants to be free. And if you want to have the best training, it's very simple. It's based on times, it's based on, ability, it's based on a bunch of things. And you know what I'm talking about when you look at how many 50-meter pools you have there.
Well, the Aquatics Center has 2, and it has one at Marlins. Be technical.
You have one that's convenient and one is a little bit inconvenient.
It's not inconvenient.
If you live down in Cuba, it's not inconvenient.
Not inconvenient.
Yeah. The point is,
we have people swimming all across Trinidad and Tobago, so Cuba is
no.
Okay.
And I think you guys have tremendous success. Tremendous success. So I don't want to belabor or belittle or anything like that. I'm just saying if you get an opportunity to have just openness at the national level about how to qualify for the national team, what's it going to take to be on the national team, and I can tell you, I've been very fortunate to be able to afford some of these trips, but it takes a lot of money and resources. These parents that I've met along the way, I can name names, but I don't want to embarrass them. And then you show up at the meet and you perform and you do what you're supposed to do. And then you don't get reimbursed. Or if you do, it takes 6 months. Listen, it takes resources. If you really want to be a powerhouse, someone in the government, in asset, or whoever it is, has to really finance the resources to make this happen, because you have definitely the talent, you have the coaching talent, you have the facilities, and you have the athletic talent. So sorry, just being completely transparent for you.
And you into water polo as well?
Well, I don't want to get into water polo right now. It's a little bit different because there's a team element to it. And there's a gelling of a team. It's not as black and white as swimming. Swimming is very easy because you just have whatever it is, 2 or 3 people per event based on time. But water polo, you can't win a championship without a good goalie or a lefty. And I coach a high school water polo here in Orlando, and by the grace of God, I've inherited some really good talent, and I've got some good people coming in. And I've got 2 lefties and a strong goalie. So I expect to go deep in the playoffs this time. But last year I had, no lefties and,
So for us who don't know what a lefty is.
What a lefty is? So when you're playing water polo, let's just say the goal is here. When I'm looking at the goal, the guy that's on this side, as you're facing the goal, the guy on the right side of the goal is a lefty, and he can throw it this way. Righties throw it this way better, so you can catch and throw. So lefties and righties it's a really big deal. The problem is 90% of the country, 90% of the world are right-handed. So when you get a left-handed player that can, not only throw the ball, they're a big part of your offense. But more importantly, the way that the offense and defenses are situated, the lefties have to play against the best offensive players that are righty. So the lefties have even more of a burden on them because they have to play awesome defense. So if you see a lefty in the Olympics, that person is really, really, really special.
Well, we got a little lesson here this evening, and thank you, Brian, for joining us. You all have any feedback for him? He made a legitimate point about transparency and accountability. Chantal, Rocky, anything to chime in there?
No, I'm just looking at the comments. I saw Mr. Joseph saying that, he is asking, how does the U.S. pay for their programs? How do they fund their programs? Is there any takeaways from that you can share with us?
Well, I'm not an expert on the U.S. National team, but I do know that if you win a gold medal, you get money. And if you win a silver medal, you get money. Well,
No, at the school level.
Oh,
is this at the school level, or you're talking at the elite level?
Well, I can give you a little bit of feedback on all levels.
Okay.
Realistically, how many of us are going to ever make the Olympics? A very, very, very narrow band, right? So I don't want to bore the entire audience by talking about just that, but just understand if you make a gold medal, you're going to get, like when Anthony Nesty won his gold, look, Jason, I don't know how old you are, but did you watch the race when Anthony Nesty won the 100 fly?
No.
Do you know what year that was?
88? No.
It was 88. Very good. It was 88. Okay, that was in Seoul, Korea. That was an earth-shattering moment for me and obviously for Karen. Karen competed in the 88 Olympics. It was massive. It was the first time a Black person won anything in swimming. It was Anthony Nesty, who I competed against in high school as a junior, as a senior. And who's this guy from Suriname? What is Suriname? Is that even place? He goes off. He beats me. And the thing about Anthony Nesty, when he swam in high school, he swam for Bowls, which is up in Jacksonville. My rival team, Pinecrest, I was hired by Pinecrest to come down there and beat Bowls. And then they brought on all these Olympians. Oh, my God. So Anthony goes in there. And the thing about the culture of Bowls is they would touch the wall and they jump out of the pool before anybody would finish the race. So you're going to congratulate who won, and he's not even in the pool with you. It was terribly disheartening, right? So when Anthony goes off to the Olympics and he's swimming against a guy named Matt Biondi. And if you remember, there was a guy from Germany. They called him the albatross, Michael Gross. He had arms that were like 8 feet wide. He had hit both lane lines as he swam butterfly. And Anthony Nesty came in and beat Matt Biondi, who was the number one. And Matt Biondi was also a water polo player. And Anthony won the gold medal by 100th of a second on a finish. Do you remember how Phelps finished? Because he took a short stroke and he beat the guy from Croatia. Well, Anthony came in perfect timing. So Anthony is a great example of all these things that we're talking about. When Anthony won the Olympics, he and I were talking about this. Suriname gave him a car. He said, any car you want. And you know what car he selected? A Honda Accord.
Well, BJ, I want to thank you for all the insight. Unfortunately, though, we'll have to call you back when we discuss water polo and other stuff too, because we have a next segment where we're speaking to our Olympian Cheryl Thompson coming up. So I'd like to thank you for tuning in and giving your contribution. And Karen, good night. Hope everything is okay with you.
Karen's so mad at me right now. Thanks, Jason.
She's mad? Very well. You have a good night and thank you. Oops. Yes, y'all. So we got a little... How is this? All right. I'm trying to remove him from the screen.
Yeah.
Right, good. Right. Good. So thank you, Mr. Dunhue. So we'll have to wrap up here. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into this segment. Where do we go from here? I believe that, I get started first. I believe that those of us who have the best interest of this sport at heart have to keep trying. We have to get just as creative as people get to do for elections, we have to get creative, right? We have to get creative how we could achieve all our goals. Yes, we could aspire for political power, but we within our clubs, we within our little spaces, we all have to try to, do our best going forward and let our voices be heard, not to be rude or disrespectful, but let our voices be heard. If we really care about the athletes, put forward what we feel, and hopefully we'll get the change that we're looking for. Chantal? Or Rocky? They'll give Chantal the last word.
Okay, well, I'm good. I just want persons to remember, control what you could control. I am a coach. I am not in total control of the persons I teach, but between their parents and myself, we control the children, so to speak. Right? Similar to Jason's point, I am not going to wait on the National Association to make decisions for me. Right? With or without them, I can create quality. Right? You control what you could control, put systems in place, and as you go along, you realize, hey, you know what? Eventually, the wall becomes so high that people either get behind your wall on your side, or they try to fight it down, and you just continue doing what you're doing, making inroads. They can't stop you if you really want to do it. Invest in yourself, as Chantal said earlier as well. You control what you could control, continue learning, continue improving. Chantal?
I think COVID is a golden opportunity now that everybody isn't in the pool, that you can actually focus on putting a plan together. So I would say this is a good time to have your elections, talk with your council, create your strategy. And when it's time to go back into the water, you begin to implement. Don't wait until it's time to go back out to now try to implement. Do what you can right now, because this is a golden opportunity. You'll never get this again, this amount of time.
So I'd like to thank Chantal Ross-Thomas, Deronn Samlalsingh, and all those who commented. Thank you all for your inputs. Thank you for Mr. Donahue for coming in. I mean, this was our first open forum, and hopefully in the future more people could join in. But I want to thank you all for your time and your energy and your inputs this evening. I know dealing with me is not easy.
Continue to make Trinidad great.
Yeah.
That's what I say, Chantal, yeah?
Be the change you want to see.
Be the change you want to see. We live in that. What's the next quote about the complaining?
The best way to complain is to create.
Right. Thank you very much. We will leave you with that.
There's some hashtags, boy.
This is the end of the Lifebuoy segment, and up next we have Cheryl Thompson in Chlorine Champions.
Good evening, everyone. Bye.
Good night, everyone.